Quest 3, 3S, Quest 2, and Pro are all rolling onto update v74. And for those of you who go, wait, what happened to v73? It just apparently got skipped. In all that v72 debacle that we covered, where the v72 is breaking headsets, even bricking some of them fully, v72 got delayed, slowed down, and then suddenly we skipped v73 and went straight to v74. It is rolling out, but as always, it can roll slowly, regionally, or just not roll at all. But some things that you can look forward to so far from v74, none of which are earth-shattering or life-changing. But probably one of the biggest and most surprising ones is casting via the USB-C cable. Now, instead of having to rely on casting wirelessly through internet that sometimes has bad latency and does not do well, you can now use a USB-C cable as long as it supports DisplayPort alt mode to any device that you can plug it into from there. Potentially good for demoing the headset if you are willing to have a wire attached to it, but my hope is that someone will create some sort of a dongle that wirelessly streams it but does it way better than casting ever does, because I find when I'm trying to demo it to people, it's always unpredictable. Sometimes it looks great and the latency is good, and sometimes it's really bad, and that's on the same TV, the same internet, the same setup. It's just kind of a crapshoot. Some improvement in the multitasking. The 2D apps are now displayed above the universal menu, so you can see which 2D apps are open and bring them back quickly. You can add shortcuts in the app library to your favorite websites. So for people who have Netflix set up on their headset and want to jump into it quickly, that's an easy feature to do now. The multi-room space setup has been improved. You can scan multiple adjacent rooms, which is really cool for mixed reality experiences like Spatial apps that use different rooms and have you actually stepping out into hallways to fight each other. In quick settings, you can now activate a night display mode, and that has been updated to improve the consistency of the display and the pass-through from the color balance to the white point to the warmth. Some improvements to the secondary profiles, which is helpful, especially as some apps like Supernatural have changed up the way that you can switch between users inside the app, and it wants you to use whole other profiles. But now even secondary profiles that don't necessarily have their link to their own Horizon app can also use the Meta Horizon app. Some minor improvements to the Quest Link PC app, making it easier to get to your system tray and your quick actions even with Meta Quest Link running in the background. The headset also is going to now try to detect if you're traveling and give you the option to switch into travel mode, which has been getting its own improvements through the last few updates. More spatial audio features. So if you're using something like WhatsApp, you can actually hear the person coming from the part of the room they're in rather than just sounding like they're all around you in a voice chat. And optional features that change the microphone so that if you're recording video, it can be heard more clearly and balance it better. And now if an app crashes, which they do on the Quest, you actually have the option to report the problem. This doesn't mean that we haven't already seen people having issues with it in the public test channel that had them worried about the final rollout, but as we've seen before, you may or may not get all these features right away, even if you are on v74, but watch out for them. And is there any there that you find particularly exciting? Let me know. When we went to Gamescom this year over in Germany, I got to try All On Board early. This is not necessarily a VR game, but more of a VR platform for your tabletop board games. This enables you to play board games with your friends all around the world, but titles you already know, from chess to officially licensed titles like Terraforming Mars and The Binding of Isaac, and all kinds of other tabletop board games that you can play on a virtual board, in a virtual setting, or even mixed reality and play it on your real table, but with your friends from across the country. And one of the neat things is, like a real board game, when you have friends over for game night, in this, if one person has bought the board game, they bring it and everyone else doesn't have to buy it too. They can share it with everyone in the moment. The rules and scoring are built right into the game, especially if you're like me. I have game nights usually every Friday with friends, and some of the games, the rules get so complicated. It really simplifies it, makes it so you can focus on everyone just having fun together. And you can play with multiple people, the game allows, or there's even a way to play one player if you just want to practice your favorite tabletop games and get better at it. The game launches next week, so I'd recommend go ahead and add it to your wish list right now. There's going to be a link in the comments and description. That way you can keep an eye when it comes out and decide if you're interested. But thank you for them to sponsoring this week's news and for making a game that brings in more of the board games we're used to. Thank you to them for sponsoring this week's news and for giving us more ways to use VR to connect us from all around the world. We've talked more than once on this channel about the Quest Games Optimizer. That's a paid tool that basically gives you complete control over your Quest and its hardware/software settings, meaning that you can up frame rates, you can change resolution, and you can basically tweak games to look as good as possible on your Quest, potentially at the cost of pushing the hardware further, but tons of great reviews from the users who have tried it and like it. Well, now the same developer, Anigan79, has released a new tool called the Quest APK installer. So for those of you who have ever tried to fully sideload something, even without the use of a helpful tool like like side quests and you've tried to put the actual APKs into your quest, this tool is basically an installer that scans your headset for all your APKs, lists them, and makes them really easy to install with just one click. And doing all this without a PC, meaning that you can have a native option for side loading directly onto your quest anything you want that's not from the Horizon store. The ability to get apps like Spotify, Discord, even Twitter or X becomes very easy with a tool like this. And a cool thing about the tool, it lets you name your own price. So if you want to support the developer, you can, but if you want it free, that's an option. But a reminder, if you're ever going to sideload something, make sure you're getting them from safe sites. If you're interested in going further with that, I'll leave a link down below to that, or also to the games optimizer, because that is a cool tool if you haven't tried it. But keep in mind, it is something more for the tinkerers and not someone who's trying to quickly throw their headset on every day, do 10 minutes of Supernatural and take their headset back off. We've been lucky enough the last couple years to be invited to Meta Connect, their big yearly event where they show off what they want to do the next year, what new VR headsets are going to drop. And it's a very exclusive event. Unfortunately, they don't allow a lot of people in, although last year they went to a bigger campus just to allow more people. Well, if you're hopeful this year to either be there, watch it live, we usually stream it here on the channel. We finally have the dates. Meta Connect 2025 is taking place September 17th and 18th, an event we're very curious about here because all rumors have been pointing to the sign that there will be no new VR headset this year. They said that the Quest 3 was going to hold out at least till 2026 when maybe a Quest 4 would come out. The Quest 3S just launched to replace the Quest 2 also in the meantime, and the biggest hopeful is that there will be a new set of Meta Ray-Bans with some sort of screen or HUD built inside. Probably not the full AR experience that we all want one day, because even the Meta Orions that they're showing off and letting people test out cost them $10,000 each just to make them for internal use. But it has seemed like year after year Meta has been focusing more on the future of AR and even AI, with them also announcing they're going to have a llama convention, not llama animals, but llama, their large language model, on April 29th. I doubt we'll be at that one, especially as we're not a developer that involved in the AI scene so far. But if you are someone out there who's going to be at Connect and you want to hang out and meet up, let me know. You may have noticed a big change recently if you're watching our videos on phone or on PC. If you look underneath over by the like button, there is now 100K, 100,000 of you out there. That's absolutely amazing. It's a milestone we've been hoping to reach for years and means that there may be a play button in the mail on the way to us. I want to say a huge thank you to all of you out there for your support over the years and let you know we do have a big 100K bundle giveaway. Several VR companies said they'll work with us, so not only will I buy the winner a Quest myself, but accessory developers will give out my top favorite accessories, so you get a whole bundle to go with it right out the gate. And there's still also a Ray-Bans giveaway going on because some of you asked about that, so navigate your way down to the comments or the description below. You can see the new 100K next to it. You can hit the like button while you're there. I don't usually ask people to do that, but if you're on your way anyways, do it! But make sure you get entered in that giveaway, and more than anything else, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you over the years. It's a really, really big deal, especially for a VR channel, because we're still kind of niche and small to ever reach 100K at all, and it really means a lot to me. Thank you. There are a lot of milestones, big and small, the Quest is celebrated, and a kind of odd one this week is now it's getting its first well-known intellectual property brought into Horizon as a meta avatar. Anthony Mackie from Captain America Brave New World will now be an avatar you can get and play as on your Quest. This last season, there's been all kinds of themed avatars, kind of pulling away from trying to make your avatar look just like you to more role-playing and fantasy-style ones, but this is the first time we're seeing a well-known IP in one. VR gives you the possibility of being anything you want, and as we've seen in VR chat, a lot of people want to be anime girls. You what? I personally always kind of like if people make their avatars look like them because it feels like you're hanging out more with the real person. But what do you think about this? It kind of reminds me of all the weird different Fortnite skins that are a thing out there. I just saw avatar ones are available on PlayStation. But if you're a Marvel fan, is this something that excites you? Is this an avatar you'll go adopt and play as? Or do you prefer to keep your avatar looking like you? I know they keep changing the avatar system to where mine I don't think looks anything like me at the moment. It's just been updated from old models and old models. But it's interesting to see some sort of change coming. Since the beginning of the year, we've been talking about a lot of developer layoffs in the industry, and unfortunately, there's more this week. Toast Interactive, the maker of Richie's Plank Experience, and Max Mustard says that a majority of their staff have been made redundant. They're going to close the office and lay off a majority of them. The remaining developers are going to continue working on their games in existence, but with more news like this, it definitely makes us step back and take stock of what's going on in the VR and the larger gaming space that has also been plagued by layoffs for years now. Some people cite post-pandemic and less people playing games and doing more outside or hanging out with friends and family again, and others talking about the state of free-to-play gaming and what it's doing to the whole industry, especially VR. If you work work in the VR industry currently, I wonder, how do you feel about this? What do you think the future of the industry looks like? Are you preparing to pivot to a more AI, AR focused industry? Do you feel like this just needed to happen and maybe this will help us develop more better games instead of just cranking out tons of these experiential games? Let me know in the comments. It seemed like this last year we had a lot more major IPs than we usually see in the space, with Batman, of course, being one of the biggest ones, a Metro game, Skydance creating their own take on Shadow of the Colossus, obviously not directly associated with it, but a game that felt a lot like the big and well-known game. Well, unfortunately, the publisher of Metro Awakening has said that it underperformed financial expectations. And this, of course, alongside positive reviews about the game. Steam VR called it its game of the year, and other publications gave it really high ratings. This wasn't one of the cases that we often get where a VR game comes out and it gets tons of bad reviews right out the gate and ends up needing more work done on it or more patches. Metro stayed true to the series, Metro fans said, but overall, whatever expectations it was the publisher had, they did not meet it. VR YouTuber Quest with Matt estimates that it's something like 45,000 people have played the game on Quest, nothing quite like the million we reported having played Batman Arkham Shadow, although of course that did come free with a lot of headsets that were purchased this last season. It's never good news when we get a big IP and they say that it underperforms, because it does discourage future big IPs possibly from entering the space. Although I do find personally over the years, a lot of times we're excited about the big IPs, but still my favorite VR games tend to be the ones that were built specifically for VR and not even adapted from another game. But maybe this will change as we see more sales and more headsets selling with the new cheaper 3S, the sales we saw on the PSVR 2 and so on. As we've been discussing and looking forward to the future of what Meta is wanting to do in the space, it does seem like they are doubling down on their Ray-Ban Metas. They invested what's always a ton of money to have a Super Bowl commercial, and now they've announced they've sold 2 million units and they are vastly increasing production on the Ray-Ban Meta glasses to a capacity of 10 million by the end of 2026. An interesting decision, since there's so many rumors that the Ray-Ban Metas are going to get an updated version this year with some kind of a HUD inside of them. And although the sales numbers they say are a great success, one thing that they did point out is that the retention on them has been increasing over time too, where a lot of times we've seen with VR headsets, people are really excited at first and then they end up using them less and less over time. That's actually true to my story as well with the Meta Ray-Bans. At first I really wasn't sure how to use them and when to use them, but the more I travel with them and listen to music while I'm traveling, or the more I take videos while I'm going around, photos, or wear them during events, I do find them being more and more useful all the time. If you've been on the fence for a while and you still haven't gotten yours, I'll leave a link down below in case you do want to get a pair of them. They were on sale during the holiday season, though we don't know if they'll come back on that sale, but I even went and bought them for a lot of friends of mine for Christmas, because I do feel like once you own a pair and use them for a while, you do really start to see the value in them. Although since I got LASIK for VR, I don't need them necessarily all the time, where if you were someone who wore glasses all the time, you got the prescription ones with the transitions, you might find them even more useful than I do. Lots happening in the VR space, good and bad unfortunately, but with this next month we do have some more events coming up we'll probably be traveling to. For the first time ever, we're going to be going to South by Southwest, it looks like. If you're in that area and you want to link up, let me know. There's supposed to be some XR days there specifically, and then of course GDC is next month, some other VR events. I'm not sure which all ones I'm going to be at quite yet, but if you're going to be at any of them, let me know. Hit me up on Discord if you want. But once again, thank you so much for being here with me for all these years. I really appreciate all of you, and I'll see you in another reality.